Litchfield Board of Selectmen's meeting. The board has just come out of a paperwork review. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6 p.m. and ask everyone to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May I approach the board?
We will do public input at 6:15 or later. Okay? We'll do public input no earlier than 6:15 p.m. So when we get to it, we'll let you know.
Okay, fine.
You're most welcome. The first item on the docket this evening is the review and approval of consent items. We have the April 22nd, 2019 meeting minutes. We have the tax collector's reconciliation for April. We have the town clerk's reconciliation for April. We have one tax credit and exemption. We have the 2019 tax warrant first issue. We have an account payable manifest of April 30th of 2019 for $139,729.92. For May 5th, 2019 for $958,563.89. And for May 14th, 2019 for $19,499.76. We have a payroll manifest for May 2nd of 2019 for $52,143.22. For May 9th of 2019 for $53,659.12. And for May 16th, 2019 for $55,542.86. Are there any items you would like to remove from consent? Hearing none, I'd accept the motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move that we approve the items of consent.
Motion by Mr. Lemire,
Second.
second by Mr. Schaefer. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? All those abstained? Carries 5-0-0. Are there any additional items members would like to be added to the agenda this evening?
Did we, we're going to talk about the river access. Is that on?
I did. I placed that on the agenda today.
Okay.
I did add two things today. We added the Heritage Commission bylaw review and naming the
All
river
right. I'm
access.
sorry. I didn't see
It
that.
just went on today, so I apologize.
Okay, the first item up is purchase order approval. We have John Brunell, IT Director for Security Cameras and Equipment. John, if you'd like to come up and.
Sure. I asked John if he would come in this evening to talk to the board instead of just going ahead and, approving the purchase order for this. This equipment, the funding for this was encumbered last year out of the 2018 budget. But I wanted John just to give you a quick presentation of what it is that he's doing and how it ties into the big picture. Because in talking with John, he's been doing a lot of work in trying to make sure that the fire department, the police department, the town hall, all on the same system. And eventually, as you might see in future budget proposals, that we can expand this system to some of our rec facilities and other, town buildings. So I just really wanted the board just to kind of hear about this. And John's the one that can give you all the technical information.
You hope.
I hope. Because I'm not going to be able to.
I'm just coming back from vacation, so I don't know. So as Troy said, we originally unencumbered the dollars in last year's budget as part of the savings to address, the initial need was to address this building, replace the about a 10-year-old system that's currently doing the PD today in some of the external areas outside. The idea was to build off the system we put into the fire department, and we're continuing to expand the fire department, which is a new camera technology. It's IP-based. It's decentralized versus centralized. And what that means is there's no large box sitting someplace that's taking all this data and recording it. The goal in the town hall side is wanting to replace all the aging cameras, which, like I said, they're 10 years old. They're beyond their life cycle. They're not irreparable anymore, and we have to do something to remove an old server that does all the data storage, which has its challenges again because it's about 6 years old, and then add additional camera coverage in areas that we don't have camera coverage today. If you look at this building, most of the camera coverage is on the PD side. but we don't, the town side of the hall is uncovered at all. So there's, cars that park, there's been incidents that have occurred. So the idea is to get sort of all frontal coverage, also address the sort of the lobby a little bit better so that we have both access watching where we take our revenue and our money and our credit card systems, and also being able to watch monitor the dispatch center when people come in and being serviced. This, like I said, the system's building off of the same system we're deploying at the fire department. The benefit there is that anybody who has access to the system can see all of the cameras in a fashion where they can be monitored. Whether it's from a police action perspective in the PD, they can actually watch the whole building in addition to any other cameras that are on the system, because they're accessible through a web page versus, a dedicated application and so on. They're also available. Access can also be granted to the cruisers. So if the cruisers were responding to one of our facilities, they could actually see what's going on. But additionally, because dispatch is watching, they can actually look at it. So the request was for, again, for the cameras that are here, I think it's about, we're putting in roughly 20 cameras. Again, it's basically the existing cameras today. I believe there's a total of 12, and then the expansion would be outside of this, like I said, and a couple of cameras within the town hall side. What else? As far as the cost goes, I'm asking for the PO has been asked for 22.5. The estimates are coming in around 21.5. I'll still be working on trying to drop that down, but I don't know if you all have been watching the news. Chinese tariffs just hit, and anything I try to buy that's not been quoted already is going to be a 10% to 20% increase. So we're going to try to do what I can do. The additional $1,000 is because I've already been through this a couple of times. There's always hangers I got to buy and things like that are not initially expected, because you don't know what the mounting points are going to be and what other issues I'm going to run into. I don't expect, the 22.5 is not to exceed. It's not going to go beyond that. So that's the justification for the PO. So
Yes.
John, so actually what we're doing is doubling the level of security,
correct.
which is a good thing.
Yep. Yeah. Today there is no, again, from the town employee side, there's no monitoring whatsoever.
Right.
In the case of the lobby, we have lots of blind spots. I think there was an incident at one point in the lobby just recently that we weren't able to get video because they were in the blind spot. So we're going to try to cover all those issues. And again, in the cases where it's really important in the PD side, where we have, people that are in custody, all those cameras are pretty much failing. And so we're going to fix all those issues. So,
Thank you.
So the reason the price stays down is because we already have the infrastructure up, right? So if we wanted to go expand over to rec facility or something, we'd have to go put more infrastructure in.
yeah. So
Cameras look to be about $1,000 a piece.
it depends. So on average, the price, because what's happening with this system, it's a 5-year, we're paying for 5 years of service. There's no other expenses after we buy it. We have 5 years of warranty, life cycle, and license. After the 5 years, if the camera's still in good shape, we can just renew them and keep on leveraging it. We're riding over existing infrastructure in the building for the most part, but there is some infrastructure that's being updated, like wiring. One of the interesting things was when we looked at the cameras that are out there today, which are based on old technology like telephone cable, the hope was they ran Cat 5 when they did it. No, they ran Cat 3. So we have to pull some of the lines, but that's a different project. I had put aside some money to do some additional wiring. That's already factored in there, and it does cover this. We're riding over the same network that we have in the building today, where in this case we're doing the rec commission, there is no network over there. There's
So
nothing
we
to
gotta put
fire it all
infrastructure.
up. Right, so you got to put infrastructure in place. So, yeah.
And just a clarification, this is not affecting the current year's budget. This was encumbered out of last year's appropriation.
Yep.
Just in case, for the people watching.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Is it all out of last year's, or is there any add-on?
No, the request is for all of last year's.
All
yeah.
of last year's budget? Okay, so
Yeah,
no impact in. but-
I got to expand on it. Last year, we looked at, most of the technology is 7 to 8 years old outside of the camera system. And so we knew we had some expenses coming down the pike. We had some servers and other things to replace. So we encumbered that, a total of $75,000 to address all that versus putting in the this year's budget. we had the savings and it made sense. And at that time, when I asked for the justification, these were all the things that I put into that justification.
'Cause I'm sure I'll get grilled on that.
Yep.
Mr.
It's
Chairman,
Cat
can I make
5.
a motion?
We ran Cat 5 on this side, on the town hall side once. Is that wire still good to use?
So the existing Cat 5, where there is existing Cat 5,
Okay.
it will get used. In the case of the camera location, there is no Cat 5 in those locations. There is, where the cameras are, there's no Cat 5.
Right.
That's all Cat 3. So that's being replaced. But
Whenever
You
you
know.
put a wire in, add 6 more to it.
yeah, when we,
Changes every year.
Yeah.
John, you said something about these things are only good for 5 years, you're saying?
no, I didn't say what it says. We're paying for all the maintenance costs in licensing costs for 5
Okay,
years. So
okay.
the way I was able to drive the acquisition costs down was to do a 5-year plan with them.
Okay.
So that for 5 years, if they break, they have a problem, they just replace them.
How fast can you do this before the tariffs hit us?
So, as I said, this is already quoted, so it's protected.
Thank you.
Right? If I was to do more, then it's not protected. I'm not going to do more until I get out of the tariffs, hopefully. Because 10% and 20% is a significant increase in some of these dollars.
Okay. Wow, I figured that.
Yeah.
They don't play good in the sandbox.
Any more discussion?
No.
Now we can have a motion.
Pursuant to the town's purchasing policy, I move to authorize purchase order M-19-07 in the amount of $22,500 for the purchase and installation of a security camera system at the town office and police station. Said funds were encumbered in 2018 for this purpose.
So we have a motion by Mr. Schaefer,
Second.
second by Mr. Lemire. Any additional discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? All those abstained? Motion carries 500. Thanks,
Thank
John.
you.
Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
John. Very thorough. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, John. You're wearing shorts.
This came from Florida, sorry.
This ain't Florida right
I
now.
don't like when he walks outside.
I'm feeling bad for you.
The next item we have is a purchase order approval for the fire department radios. Mr. Brown.
Okay, so this is actually a project that was planned for in the 2019 budget. And these are the radio system that we had discussion with the board and the budget committee. This purchase order is requesting $39,072.65. It's basically for a mobile radio, which will be installed in the new truck that will be arriving, the pickup truck, utility truck, in about I don't know, a month, 2 months from now. And then we have the portable radios, the 6 handheld portable radios and installation and everything. So this was, we had budgeted $40,000 in our 2019 budget. As you can see, the quote here is just under.
Does that quote stand?
What's that?
Does that quote still stand?
Yes.
That was part of the budget that you already presented and
Yeah, it's already, yeah.
approved and
We-
everything. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, pursuant to the town's purchasing policy, I'd like to move that we authorize purchase order M-19-08 in the amount of $39,072.65 for the purchase and installation of radio equipment for the fire department.
We have a motion by Mr. Lemire,
Second?
second by Mr. Schaefer. Any additional discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All those abstained? Motion carries 500. The next item is the planning board member appointment of Tony Turecki, term expiring in 2022. Mr. Brown.
Tony has been serving as an alternate member on the planning board. I actually had been contacted by the chairman of the planning board about a month and a half ago and just somehow slipped through the cracks. So this would fill the last remaining full membership on the planning board. And again, the chairman has recommended Tony be appointed to full membership from alternate.
Yeah, I think this will fill the board with full members.
Now we have a full board, and we're currently
We can take the sign down, huh?
that sign generated a lot of interest,
That's
so
good.
very
That's- yeah.
effective.
Yeah, it actually got us, what, 2?
Yeah, and so I heard the staff talking about they had some names still coming in for alternate members, so
Oh, good.
so good.
Because we dwindled there for a while.
Well, I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Schaefer,
I move to appoint Tony Turecki as a regular planning board member with a term to expire on March 31st, 2022.
we have a motion by Mr. Schaefer,
Second?
second by Mr. Larry. Any additional discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All those abstained? Motion carries 5-0-0. Next item is the Board of Selectmen delegation to license to carry. Mr. Brown.
Okay, it's been a long-standing policy, as I understand, for the board, that the board retain the right to approve and sign off on the license to carry a pistol or revolving weapon. The chief has talked to me about the possibility of asking the board if they'd be willing to delegate that authority to him. He recommends this for several reasons. One, he's the one has access to the information, and the board does not. So, and the other thing is there's a time limit on when people submit their applications. There's a quick turnaround that we need to either approve or deny. And if it's denied, then, that applicant can actually appeal the decision to a court system. And if the chairman of the board here were to be subpoenaed to the court, you would have to give testimony as to why you denied the application. And you really wouldn't have much information to share with the court other than advising the court that the chief had told you
To sign it.
not to sign it. So I really think that I can tell you that I've worked in a lot of towns, and usually this function is always administered by the police chief. Police chief has his staff and access to records, and I do think it's a function that the chief of police should be performing. Again, the board has discussed this in the past. And for whatever reason, I think it may have been checks and balances, different types of discussions where they weren't comfortable granting that authority to the chief. So I just wanted the board to be aware that kind of discussions happened in the past.
So based on the discussions that Troy and I had on the subject, I reached out to some law enforcement people that I know, and they too agree that it should reside with the chief, that it puts us in a very awkward spot if we ever did get to litigation on why did we sign off just based on the chief telling us it was okay to sign off. So my personal opinion is I think we should delegate it back to the chief of police. If the board wanted to know how many pistol permits were given in a month, we probably could find out that information or add it to the consent items if we wanted to retain that knowledge. But I think the approval process, in my opinion, should go back to the chief of police.
It pretty much is. They're the ones that tell us yes or no.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just rubber stamping it.
But it's the
So-
chairperson's signature on it,
Oh,
so they're
exactly.
actually the one issuing the permit.
No, I get it. And I think that you're right. We should go back to let the police do it because they've already done 7/8 of the procedure anyway, so.
In my experience with towns, the police chief always was involved from the beginning. The board of selectmen was not involved in signing them. Okay, with other towns outside Litchfield. So I agree that the police chief should have that. He's the one that has the right to do the background checks more than we are.
Mhm.
Okay, to do anything. All we're doing here is going yep. Okay, and yep doesn't really cut it when you go to court.
Correct.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, pursuant to RSA 159:6, license to carry. I'd like to move that the Board of Selectmen delegate authority to the police chief to issue resident pistol revolver licenses.
We have a motion by Mr. Lemire,
I'll second it.
second by Mr. Lynch. Any additional discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? All those abstained? Motion carries 500.
Well, that took 10 years.
I do public comment.
Yes. Seeing that is now 6:20, I'd like to open up public comment. If you'd like to come forward, state your name, your address.
My name is Robert Martineau, and I live at on Brook Road, 25 Brook Road.
Good evening.
I'd like to give you a little history on my stay in Litchfield. I moved here in 1971, which makes it just shy of 48 years. In 1972, I met Pat Jewett, and she got me on the Recreation Commission committee. She got me on a dump study, and I joined the fire department that same year as a volunteer. My stay at the fire department from 72 to 77. Somewhere around 76, I became a library trustee. And on that same year, I was on the Bicentennial Commission for the party to celebrate 200 years for the country. In the 80s, I got on the planning board, and then I was on the National Regional Commission as a delegate from Litchfield. In 1994, I bought 3 cemetery plots at Pinecrest, and in the process of buying, I ran into some people that were on the cemetery board, and they convinced me that I should join. And I did, and I've been there since almost 20 years, more than 20 years. In the year 2000, I became a Justice of the Peace. In 2007, I became a bail commissioner for the police department, and I maintained that position till 2013. And there you have it.
Well, thank you for all your service. We greatly appreciate it.
It's been my pleasure. Now, I'm here because of a sinkhole. I have discussed this problem with a number of you people. And May 2nd, I got a letter from Mr. Brown. He talks about how the town engineer, Louis Caron, who I've known for the last 30 years, came to my property twice. The first time he just drove by and didn't stop. The second time he drove and stopped. And he neglected to come to my front door and ring the doorbell so that I could come out with him and observe what he was going to do and his determination of the sinkhole. He didn't do that. So I got information later on that he had been there. So I went out and looked at the sinkholes that were in my lawn, and I noticed that he had been digging around in that area, covering up some of the seep holes that were coming from the next door property. And anyways, him and Mr. Caron and Mr. Brown ended up writing some findings of their investigation. Now, what I would like, in order to continue, is a copy of the engineering paper that he has presented to Mr. Brown in making all of these determinations. And I have not seen that report. Is it available?
It is available. It's just an email correspondence from Mr. Karen to myself.
No, and is it signed by him? No, I want something signed by an engineer stating what he has found. 'Cause otherwise, an email is not a legal document. And while we're at it, I would like a copy of the document that was used to put in the catch basin in front of number 27 Brook Road. I have not seen that. I've been trying to find it and no one seems to know where it is or even if it exists. And it's hard to believe that a catch basin would be put in the front yard of a resident of this town without an engineering drawing showing where it is and what it looks like. Is there one available? You don't know.
I don't know.
Does anyone know?
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
may I add to this?
of course.
Today, I found the Brook Road plans for the sumps that they put up through there. I came in, we knew we had plans because Roland had done that job. And they did the Brook Road drainage. It's a dry sump type area that they did. There's no connecting drainage. It's leaching. Bob, I got a question. This drawing
Now,
right now, this picture here,
That first photograph shows Brook Road
underwater.
on the 27th of April.
Okay, so I want to know.
And you, as you can see, there's a big flooded area right over the catch basin.
Mhm.
The next photograph you see is a photograph on the property line between myself and Mr. Provo, my next door neighbor, who owns this little pond in his front yard, showing the water coming into my property.
Through this, you're saying here?
Yeah. And these two photographs can be verified if you'd like.
Are you on the corner of Brook and Forest?
No, it's
No.
Oh, the numbers go the
No.
other way. Okay. It looks like the,
You're down at the bend, right?
Arcadian.
It's just before you get to
okay, this
Arcadian.
looks like the first house. huh?
Yeah, right now, where we pulling?
Yeah,
That turn goes into Arcadian Lane.
okay.
And that's my problem.
It's water.
And I would like to have an engineering study done that would identify this problem and a way how to fix it. How to get the water from the edge of Brook Road when it rains to the brook in the back of the houses that live on Brook Road. And this one here that the town administrator says, he says that it's not our fault, it's your fault. And they're talking about stump dumps and they're talking about, I don't know where that comes from. Somebody found a piece of wood sticking up out of one of those holes in the front yard and said, oh, it's a stump dump. That's just fabrication.
Well, I
It's
believe-
something that the people want to hear.
I believe that piece of information came from Mr. Karen's email, Troy?
Yes.
It did. So how about if we do this? How about if we get myself, Mr. Brown,
Yeah,
Lou Karen, the road agent, we'll all come together and we'll meet at your property and we'll look at it as a team. In the interim, we'll see if we can actually, you said you found the
old design.
old design?
Okay, the added catch basin I have not found.
can I get a copy of that?
I'll make something out that you can get it, yeah.
Okay.
That's common,
Before the.
public information.
Before Capade?
Now, my neighbor next door has been complaining about this water problem ever since the catch basin was put in. And he gets no relief, and that's been at least 15 years.
I remember in 1977, 78, we've always had an issue up there. If you remember the fire department used to have to go up and pump the street out because there was almost a foot of
That was
water.
the lower part of Brook Road. That was
Right.
not up where I
Oh,
am.
no, I understand. But the entire Brook Road, if I'm not mistaken, drains into all of that. They try to drain it into the brook that goes
Behind the baseball.
Yeah.
behind
Mhm.
your property and down through.
Pot-
And they put in,
Property?
no, down at the corner. Whose property was that?
Bud Owens is there.
Yeah, yeah. But all of Brook Road was, if I'm not mistaken, was intended to drain into that brook, including your area.
Um,
And the
Oh,
thing
no,
is,
if you drive up to my area from that low spot down at the bottom,
Mhm.
you have to go up an incline, and then you get to my property.
right,
Now, the water is coming not from down there, it's coming from up on the other side
Acadian.
of George Provost's property. It's draining down to his property, and then it's sinking in and coming down to mine. I have seen times where my front lawn is 3 feet deep in water. And it's not because of the high water table in my area. You can use that down the street, that's fine, but not where I live.
I think that's a good suggestion.
Yeah.
To get the five of
Just to
us
help,
together.
help you, Brent, going back on that. The Brook Road area where we always used to pump, that was the lowest part from the beginning when you come off,
Right.
okay, the forest, I believe. It's right in that curve we used to pump. You start going up by the playground,
Mhm.
okay, it goes back uphill, then it goes back down a wee bit.
Right.
All the drainage comes around the corner from Arcadian. Here's some drawings. They're supposed to drain down a swale. I haven't seen a swale there in years, but that's it. The type of drainage that they have out there right now is infiltrating style,
Mhm.
where they got 2 catch basins with lanes going off. The groundwater being so high, as you can see, it's been so high this year, excessively high. The catch basin, which is right in this area here, is swimming.
Right.
And that's where the water does flow down into Mr. Martineau's land. Okay, it does drain through there if it gets too full. Now, what it hit, okay, onto his land is still, okay, it drained there, it got there, and it settled there, and it sunk in. Probably an old stump dump. You probably don't know about it, but maybe there was. But when they built the house,
I don't
they
know,
buried stuff.
that doesn't come into the
It doesn't really come
equation at
into it,
all.
okay? The water's getting to it, and that's what it is, okay? So I try to find the information for Troy and for Lou and Jack, because when it comes to those files back there, they're experimental,
Mhm.
okay? And I know where things are, so I came in today to try to hunt some of that down, and I'm not done yet. Because when I first came on board, that was one of the things I tried to do, is keep the records up the way Roland did, okay? And I know where things are. Well, some things have moved. We're gonna find them, okay? I think that just to clarify what Mr. Martin was saying, Bob is looking for, I think Lou needs to see some more stuff that he probably didn't even know about, okay? At the time, that's all I'm saying.
So Troy, could you
I just want to
facilitate
make it
that?
clean.
Sure.
Get us all together and get a date and time with Mr. Martineau that he'll be there also, and we can all investigate it together.
I'm available anytime.
You're not
Perfect.
working anymore?
Huh?
You're not working anymore?
No, I'm not.
Oh, darn. No one here, Henri.
Is that a satisfactory action plan for you at this time?
Pardon me?
Is that good for you if we all come out together and look at it
Yeah,
as a
yeah,
team?
you can all come up, yeah. And also, on those 2 photographs, I want to tell you that those are verified by the police department.
Okay.
And I have talked to the chief, and he says, anytime you want to ask the officer to verify these photographs, feel free to do. His name is Christopher Underwood.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Now,
bringing it to us,
I don't want any
Bob.
piping coming onto my property because I don't think that's where it belongs. I want it coming from the existing catch basin to the property line between Mr. Provo and myself. And then at a right angle, go straight down near his property line to the brook. Now, you're gonna have to do a topo on that to find out how the land lies, so that it will flow into the brook without any problem.
Okay.
And I did spend a couple of years in 1978 and 79 working for an engineer, and I was involved in the project of laying out commercial street utilities and drainage in Manchester. So I do know a little bit, not a hell of a lot. I know a little bit about drainage.
Sometimes it's dangerous.
So I will wait for your word, and I will be waiting with bated breath.
Okay, let us get everyone together and we will give you a date and time. We'll be out there.
Yeah, that's all you're gonna do. Give me a date and time with about 2 or 3 hours notice, and I'm yours.
Do you want us to bring us something? Tea, coffee?
What's that?
You want coffee?
You're gonna give me a copy of that, right?
Coffee
what he
what?
wants.
Yeah, yeah. I'll take care of that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's public information. It's here.
Are there any other members of the public that would like to have comment?
I think it's raining out, huh?
You won't need that.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, Bob.
Seeing there's no other public comment, we'll close public comment at 6:37 PM.
In character.
Take care, John.
Good night, John. Take care.
Thanks,
Thanks for your help today, John.
Nice shorts.
The next item we have is the Treasurer's Delegation Deposit Authority. Mr. Brown.
That doesn't sound right.
Okay, so this is, as you recall, at our last meeting, we reviewed our investment policy. And as part of that investment policy, the town treasurer has the authority to delegate certain functions of her job. The one function that she has elected to delegate is depositing of town funds. And she has identified 3 employees to do that. The town clerks has traditionally been those employees. So on an annual basis, the board reviews the investment policy, and then following that, normally we have the delegation authority.
Which policy is this one, Joy?
It's in the investment policy.
I'm trying to find it in this list here. That's
So
why.
it's deposit.
Oh, deposit authority is
Deposit
the
authority,
category.
Oh, under deposit. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
for discussion, and if there is any, in accordance with the town's investment policy, I'd like to move to approve the town treasurer's delegation of authority to Ann Eckley, Teresa Brand, and Patricia Texter for the deposit of town funds.
We have a motion by Mr. Lemay,
I'll second it.
second by Mr. Lynch. Any additional discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All those abstained? Motion carries 5-0-0. Next item we have is the lease agreement for 296 Charles Bancroft Highway. Mr. Brown.
Okay, this is the second year that we have an actual formal lease agreement for 296 Charles Bancroft Highway. It's recorded as map 15, lot 22 in the town's tax maps. It's the cornfield that everyone's very familiar with. It's right, it abuts the, or part of the river access facility.
Where is this now?
It's the river access to cornfield right next to your house that you know very well.
Is it about your property too?
It's right next to me.
Very next to
Spent a lot of time in there.
So just as a recap, the Board of Selectmen has the authority to lease property, but you can only lease property for 12 months. Any length greater than that requires a town meeting vote. So we do this on an annual basis. The lease is for $1,000, and that's basically roughly $100 per acre, 10 plus or minus acres that they're using the farm.
It's just nice that they, no matter what the price is, at least it's getting moved, but the earth is getting turned. We're going to make it look good. It looks better when it's planted.
It's obviously they're turning the soil, they're managing the land, they're applying lime, and if we didn't have this actively farm, we would have to bear that cost if you wanted to preserve the agricultural soils.
Is there a motion for this?
No, I don't think we need a motion. I think it's just
Would
more.
I be a conflict? Thank you.
Or you go out and
I don't
steal
have a
corn
motion
from
for
them?
that, but
There's
just,
no motion.
Yeah.
It's just a contract. We all signed
Yeah.
it this evening.
It's all
It's
good.
part of the
Okay.
sense.
There you go.
The next item we have is the NHMA Legal Services Approval. Mr. Brown.
Where is this? Municipal Association.
all right. So this is an annual function of the board as well. It's been a long-standing policy of the board that this is strictly for communication purposes. So we notify New Hampshire Municipal Association, the legal staff. We provide this list of town officials, committee members, employees that are allowed to contact NHMA directly and seek free legal advice. The only thing we ask in return is that information is shared with the Board of Selectmen.
Yes.
And this is all just to prevent any miscommunication, that, the board's fully aware of whatever legal advice is being given to our town employees and our boards and committees. Typically, when this is initiated, the email is, usually I'm always contacted first by an individual, or an email question is sent, I'm copied. Very seldom do I ever get a response back where it's already gone out. But we want to encourage all of our employees that are on this list and the committee chairs to use this service. We pay for it. It's an excellent service, and very prompt service when you have questions that they can quickly provide you with guidance. So I've gone through it and I've updated the committee chairs. Kerry Douglas for the Budget Committee. We've added Andrew Collins for Recreation Commission Chair. I don't really know right yet if he's the chair, but he seems to be taking the role right
leadership
now as the
role, yeah.
lead person. And I've added the Heritage Commission, Carl Frank, to this list.
Okay.
That's a newly created commission since the last time we sent this out.
So this should be a motion because it's a board.
It should be.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the list of NHMA approved as written.
We have a motion by Mr.
Context.
Lemire,
Second?
second by Mr. Schaefer. Any additional discussion? All those in favor?
One question. What's the cost?
Nothing.
Good answer.
Well, remember, we pay a membership.
Pay dues.
We pay dues.
How much
As
is
part of that, one of the things we get is unlimited free.
Unlimited free legal.
Annual
Well, there's been
membership.
some discussion.
Off the top of my head, if you don't hold me to it, it's about $7,000 a year.
There's been times where I've seen here in this town and other towns where we got out of those things completely. I'm just saying that.
Right.
Was one town that we agreed and it got turned back in here. So that was a
It's
little,
been discussed.
Okay.
I know,
yeah,
during.
I know in Milford-
Budget committee
we didn't want it.
meetings, it's been discussed
Right.
whether or not they wanted to support
Yeah.
the membership.
Okay, it's $7,000 though, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ballpark.
Right.
Holding you to it now.
Yeah. Don't hold me to that. It's somewhere in the $7,000.
Oh, I got
And
your
the
name
thing
right
is,
next to
and
it.
they had asked what the services that we usually get from, and the equivalent services that we get for our dues money are well in excess of the money we pay, the hourly rate.
Because if not, we'd have to transfer that to our normal legal.
To our normal
and what would the
legal.
rate of that be?
And that.
So it's a cost analysis.
150 an hour.
Yeah.
But remember, the New Hampshire Municipal Association is, we all know the group. They provide training to our
Correct, a lot of us go through
all of
training.
our boards and committees,
I'm not
to our
debating that.
employees. But their primary purpose is obviously watching what's going on in Concord and all these bills that are submitted and being up there representing us, making sure that whatever action Concord takes doesn't have some type of adverse effect on any of our departments or the bottom line, our tax rates. So, and the information they share with us almost on a weekly basis of what's going on is just invaluable. So, everyone always kind of gets focused on the legal part of it. That's just one piece. There's many other pieces. They also, our membership allows us to participate in the health insurance program and the dental program.
Because I know the courses I've taken have been fantastic by them.
And they are coming down
And they're coming down to the
for the
budget.
budget committee.
And I've been involved with them on and off for years. I got a question on, they come down, they do, is there any way that we can get this out on our webpage, what they've done for us?
They have a brochure that would
Brochure.
Well, they have information which shows what our membership dues, what.
Right, but I'm just saying, like, the taxpayers are always looking, you go to our website, and I'm not trying to be rude about it, but it's a little vague, okay? And I want to know if we are doing something with them, it'd be nice if that came back and be on our webpage to show people why we spend money for them.
They're
Okay,
actually
'cause-
coming to the next budget committee meeting and they're gonna do a training thing
Yeah.
that night.
And those are good
May-
things,
May
okay?
27th.
I've been there.
It's May, right?
Yeah.
May 27th, yeah.
I've used legal
Maybe.
counsel for baseball.
I've been there,
Which-
okay? And I'm just saying, but no one really knows what happens besides the circle of love,
Mm.
okay? That's all I can say. I think that was enough.
So is your request just to put their brochure up there, or do you want someone to take the time and go bullet by bullet?
Is there, no, I want to,
what
if
we've
there's something that they publish that we can transfer onto our site.
I don't see why, if we get the rights from them, why we couldn't publish their brochure if it's out there
Yeah.
in general public, have IT put it up on the website.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
because it's great, it's great information. I don't agree with it all,
Mhm.
but it is good information. I won't deny that.
Troy, if you could work with,
So I'll work with
IT.
John Brunel and HMA, see what we
Thank
can
you.
do.
Besides that, go for it.
any more discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All those abstained? Motion carries 5-0-0.
I used my hand, sorry.
We saw.
We would expect nothing less.
Next item is the River Access Park name, John Bryant River Access. Mr. Brown.
All right, so I know that when the river access facility was constructed, it all happened very quickly. And so, it was completed, in like 3 weeks last year, very quickly. And the Rec Commission has been working with the Conservation Commission. And unfortunately, when John Bryant, who was a big supporter of recreation in our town, and one of the real big supporters of trying to get river access to Litchfield residents. And this was something that's been discussed in the town's master plan and just been discussed for many years. And it's just never been able to happen. And John Bryant played a big role in that. And the Recreation Commission, in support by the Conservation Commission, has recommended that we name the river access facility John Bryant River Access.
It's wonderful.
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay.
As recommended by the Recreation Commission and supported by the Conservation Commission, I move to name Litchfield's river access area as John Bryant River Access.
Motion by Mr. Schaefer,
Second.
second by Mr. Lemire. Any additional discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? All those abstained? Motion carries 5-0-0. I think that's a great
It's a
name. for
sign,
it.
yeah, and there's, they're very, I know that there was some discussion about calling it a park, but that's not the purpose of the facility. It's river
River
access, and that's, so just, if
It's not a
anyone asked you any questions about that, that was,
Not a park.
that's not there.
Wouldn't be better.
And there'll be a new sign that the rec commission is working on.
Keeping the same format as we've been
Same
doing for all
exact
of our
format.
ships, just changing the verbiage.
A little smaller?
No, same
Yeah,
size.
it's that size due to what, sign regulation at the speed limit posted on the road.
Nice
to hear that. I believe is how the whole thing
The
came
zoning does
down.
not apply to private people.
The next item is the Heritage Commission bylaw review. Mr. Brown.
Bylaws, under bylaws. So the Heritage Commission, one of the first things that they've done, obviously, is being such a new group, they have worked hard at producing bylaws and rules of procedures that they would like to have the board, want to make sure the board's aware of this, but specifically what they're looking to do is have the board use our legal counsel to review this draft, make sure that it's consistent with all the state statutes, because heritage commissions do have certain authorities granted to them. And we need to make sure that their rules and procedures don't have any conflicts with those state laws. And again, just, really the Heritage Commission stepping up, getting themselves well organized, and so that they can start to, work on the mission and purpose of preserving our culture and heritage here in Litchfield. So I just, go ahead.
And we're not asking for approval tonight. What we're asking is concurrence by the board to ask our legal counsel to review it before the board approves.
Perfect.
I don't even know if we need a motion. Do we?
You don't need a motion. I think it was just
So,
an
is everyone
FYI,
okay
make
with
sure.
Okay.
Kevin, you good with that?
Yeah, I'm good.
Well.
Can't find it. That's
All right.
It's bylaws.
Thank you.
Bylaws.
Third one
You're
down.
most welcome.
Where'd you find that?
Under B.
Ta-da. Don't worry, I only get half the page each time, so.
Well, you gotta scroll.
You gotta scroll, buddy.
You gotta use your,
My fingers are old. You'll guess.
all right, moving on.
Moving on. Next
On to the
to
next one, guys.
non-union performance review process. Mr. Brown.
Do we skip one? The ambulance?
I would go back to ambulance. We can do this one if you want. Performance. So what I've done here is if you click on performance review, you'll see the, this is the evaluation form that we use. This is one that's been used in solid waste. They're all the same. So our non-union, what we've done here is on July 1st, all the performance reviews are done prior to July 1st. And what the board has normally done is set a ceiling as to the maximum amount that can be awarded for employees' performance. So we need to start working on this. The department heads, supervisors will need to start doing the reviews so that they're ready for personnel department to enter into the payroll system. Again, this would be non-union. This is our fire. This includes the firemen, all the call fighters,
And the call ones.
town hall employees, and highway and solid waste. We budget a lump sum of $15,000 in the budget, and that represents the cost for 6 months. So when these adjustments are given, they're for the impact for the 2019 budget. It's a 6-month impact. When we prepare the budget in the fall, you will then see the full 12-month impact when we put together that budget. It's always a question that comes up with Selectmen and Budget Committee. What I would like to recommend this year is that we continue to have the maximum at 3%.
Okay.
And the reason I ask for that, I know that our union contract, I believe, is 2.5%, but there are provisions in the union contract that allow for additional increases for years of service. They get promotions and working different shifts and what have you. And then I know that Social Security, I believe, was 2.8% in 2018. They said it at 18, but it's for 19. But one of the things that's really important to point out is that not all employees would be eligible for the 3%. Would be somewhere, the range is anywhere from 0 to 3. And it allows, having that little extra percentage allows us to, again, try to address some of the levels of funding from some of these positions. We were not able to fully implement the wage plan as originally designed. So,
And I believe the federal cost of living, they came out when they said it was going to be 2.8% for 2019.
yeah, 2.8.
That's what I thought. Gentlemen, thoughts?
You don't need a motion.
Oh, really?
Well, I need concurrence that, the max would be 3%.
All right, I'll move that we concur with the recommendation for maximum of 3% for the non-union wage pool.
Motion by Mr. Lemare,
Second.
second by Mr. Schaefer. Any additional discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? All those abstained? Motion carries 5-0-0.
Chairman, I believe on some of the agendas you have ambulance. I don't have it.
I do not have it either.
Neither do I.
You have an ambulance
Yeah,
item,
so,
Troy?
It's listed
oh,
as
I know what
write-off.
I've done.
Is it
Oh,
write-off policy?
No, I did. I guess
Yeah,
I did
uncollectible
bad
debt.
because I didn't keep the agenda topic the same as under your business. So AR, accounts receivable write-offs,
At the top.
right at the top, AR write-off.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Should have called it the ambulance.
You'll love that.
Okay.
It costs to go.
Oh, wait, it's the very last one, 12.
Here's a pickup truck.
So let's go to the ambulance account receivable write-off approval then.
All right, so did I jump out of order?
Well,
Quite all right.
only on his agenda.
It says ambulance, on ours it says
Oh,
number
okay.
12.
All right, so I was going to just introduce our write-off policy and then flow into the ambulance, but it doesn't matter. We can discuss this. So every year we review our write-off policy, and this is for accounts receivable, uncollected bad debt. The auditors who have just recently wrapped up coming in and doing the annual financials, it is their recommendation that that the board write off debt that's 3 years, that's aged 3 years or more. So you'll see every year, we just started this last year, I think was the first time, where we're coming to you and asking you to write anything off that's 3 years old. Ambulance is a little tricky because we can have a bill that can go out and literally there are times when some bills appear and it's 2 years has already passed. We're just learning about the bill and getting the denial from the insurance company. So they're always lagging. And all you have this evening is ambulance write-offs and the amount of $17,921.07. This write-off it's just being taken off the town books. So it's not going to be out there anymore as a receivable, but it's already been turned over to our collection agency. So we're still out there actively through a third-party vendor trying to collect these fees, but we're taking it off our books. So it's not there as a receivable anymore. It's gone, but it's still in collection, and that collection agency is, working with these individuals for payment.
Now that collection, if it is received, goes to Hudson.
So
The ambulance.
nope,
Not to
because
us, right?
this comes to us. So
We
what
paid
happens
Hudson
is
already.
Hudson, whatever. So
Oh, that's
Hudson,
right, 'cause at
Hudson
the end of
uses
the year,
they use their own
Yeah,
billing
Correct.
service.
Okay.
Whatever doesn't get paid within a certain amount of time, we're responsible for paying, and then we try to collect that.
Right.
debt.
Okay.
And then eventually, we've exhausted everything we can in house, and we turn it over to our debt collector, the financial institution.
We get a fraction of that based off of years it's in debt.
I mean, to be honest with you, when you get to this point right here, the likelihood is, it's very slim.
How many years of debt is that?
So this represents 15 and
15 years?
16. No.
Just the years 15 and
and
16?
year 16.
2015, 2016.
And that's just.
And he
for-
wants the 3-year write-off. The auditors are recommend 3.
Yes. Yeah. We had a couple years ago, we wrote off, I don't know,
Oh.
$45,000,
Yeah, I remember
$50,000
that,
because we had never written it off. So now we're getting in our position. We never had a collection agency either. We have a collection agency now. All of this, we're working better with the town of Hudson, getting that information so that they can go out and try to collect these funds. If they're no response, they do hit their personal credit rating. So we're doing everything we can.
So it is working?
It's working, but in this business,
Oh, I know.
there's a lot of bills that go out in the ambulance service world that never get paid.
Whole medical world.
This would pay for NHMA for 2.5 years.
I'm not complaining.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Pursuant to the town's accounts receivable write-off policy, I move to write off $17,921.07 of bad debt. Said funds have been sent to First Financial Services for collections.
We have a motion by Mr. Schaefer,
Second.
second by Mr. Leary. Any additional discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All those abstained? Motion carries 5-0-0.
Just like any other business. You got debt that can't get collected.
Okay, we are now at the police chief recruitment process. As the board knows, we're at the point that next March, Chief O'Brien will be retiring. So we need to start the process on how we want to move forward with police chief candidates. So I just wanted to inform the board that we would like myself, Troy, and Chief O'Brien to sit down, collect our thoughts on which path we'd like to do, and then come back and report to the board and get a agreement on the path we'd like to go in hiring the recruitment process of hiring a new police chief.
Sounds reasonable to me.
I agree.
Will we be considering in-house candidates or are we going strictly outside?
That's going to be the thing. I think we're going to do a combination, definitely inside, and we're going to talk about the whole process and what we can do from internal, external, pros and cons of each one, and try to come back and report to the board of, what direction, based with the current chief's input, we should go, and then we'll, as a group, try to decide what is the best path for the town.
Okay.
We do have some ideas, and I think it's going to be a good process, something we got to get ahead of
Okay.
sooner than later, because this will take a while to do.
Before the budgets come out.
Correct. Once the budget season hits, we know how busy the board gets. So
Okay. Just we have some really good people on the force now.
yes, we do. We have some great candidates. We've invested a lot of money in the force we have now. So
I prefer sticking to the inside personally, because we've done a lot to keep these gentlemen
Yeah.
We have.
there. And they've done a lot to be nice to us.
they have, and the amount of
the
training they
citizens
had
of
and the
this town.
service they give and the professionalism and so forth. I think everybody on the board agrees.
Okay.
So Troy, if you can get with Chief O'Brien and myself and get some
Okay.
dates, we'll sit and then we'll report back to you guys.
Okay.
Next we have is policy review. The first one will be the fund balance policy.
There's more fun in that.
So we're, again, the process here was just to introduce the policy this evening, and in our next meeting, to do the more formal adoption. But you'll hear as I said, the auditors were in a couple weeks ago, And when they come in the fall, they'll spend a lot of time and talk to you about your fund balance. And so we have a policy that the board's required to review. If you take a look at it, there's, GASB, which is Government Accounting Standards Board, sets a lot of the standards here. And one of the standards that they say, well, I don't want to jump ahead, but you'll see in definitions that there is like 5 different types of funds. And the first one is non-spendable fund balance. So those are things like your trust funds. You can't, selectmen, town meeting, nobody can spend those funds. They're held in trust and is pretty much restricted, right? Then you have your restricted fund balance, which is things like grants that would come in. So they come in, they're for a specific purpose. They're restricted to that purpose. Committed fund balance would be things like at town meeting when they approve funding for a capital project. They approve $400,000 for a new fire engine. Those funds are there. They're restricted for that purpose. You can't go out and do anything else with them. And you have your assigned fund balance, which is, these are things like where we talked about this evening. We encumbered some funds for a specific purpose.
Dedicated.
They're dedicated, they're assigned. So you go through all that process, and basically whatever is left is the unassigned fund balance. And that's what you always hear us talking about, because we tend to use a portion of the unassigned fund balance to help fund one-time capital project expenses. So usually every year we have 1 to 3 projects that we try to use the unassigned fund balance to do that. It's the unassigned fund balance is your liquid cash. And we, I know a lot of you have heard us talk about it, that we use it as for cash flow. We don't have to go out and borrow money because we have a very healthy fund balance and a good working relationship with the school. So we're able to work on a cash flow basis, both with the school, the town, and we avoid the interest costs and bank fees for getting interim loans. So one of the things that this is a policy set by the board. Again, it's backed by GASB recommendations that we retain an unassigned fund balance of anywhere from 8 to 12% of the funds that are the general appropriations for the town, school, and county government. And again, the purpose of that, why they write it that way, is because they're looking for the ability for the town to fund on an interim basis those 3 government entities. And that's a sign of how healthy, your finances are in the town. I will tell you that last year, when we set our tax rate, DRA actually does this calculation, and our retainage was 1.9 million, and that represented about 8.25%, I believe. So we're at, even though 1.9 million sounds like a lot, we're at the low end of that range of 8 to 12. And that's your fund balance. So,
Okay.
So one of the things that the board needs to be aware of when we're, you're putting together your budgets and talking about warrant articles and how we're going to fund it through taxation. Can we use the unassigned fund balance? We just got to keep in mind that we have this policy that we or the board has set to follow. Don't want to use too much of the funds.
So we're going to vote on this next.
Yeah, well, I just want to introduce it. If you have any questions, follow-up questions between now and the next meeting, let me know, and try to get those answers to you.
Thank you. The next policy review will be the purchasing policy.
You hear, we're already using the purchasing policy quite a bit, where we have different levels of purchases and authorizations that's required. We review this policy on an annual basis as well. A quick summary that we have different thresholds. So as the town administrator, I sign off on purchases anywhere from $5,000 to $12,000, and anything greater than $12,000, the Board of Selectmen has to approve in advance. So
And
we do
anything
that
under
by
5,000 is the department head.
and 5,000 under the department head approval. Now, certain purchases require a competitive bidding process, again, based on the amount, an anticipated amount of the cost. And in this policy, we also have a list of vendors that are sort of, I'll say, pre-approved. They're exempt from competitive bidding. And it's primarily due to the fact that we have a contract with them to perform a certain service, or they are the only vendor that can provide the goods, materials, or service, just due to the unique proprietary nature of equipment, what have you,
Or they're on the state bid list. Right?
or the state bid list.
In adding and removing people are just more of a discussion point. If there's people we want to add to this list.
Yeah.
subtract from
So
this
one of
list.
the things I will do before your next meeting is I will go through that list and share it with department heads, and they'll usually identify someone they no longer use, or someone that they wish to have added to the list. So normally that's the only change you'll see. In the previous year, we increased the threshold. The selectmen used to approve, I believe, anything 10,000 or more, and we upped it to 12,000 last year. Yes.
Okay, we've already gone over the accounts receivable write-off
Right.
policy. We did the last one.
Purchase, fund balance, purchase policy, and accounts receivable. So we've done those.
We did the ambulance write-off. So now we're on to reports and other business. First would be the administrator report. Mr. Brown.
Let's see what, nothing here. Oh, there it is.
I think you're all aware, I probably sent email correspondence out, but just for the public to understand that we did purchase, officially close on the 155 Hillcrest Road property last week. That all went very smooth. We've done the title work. We've done, all the closing costs, and, really worked great with the sellers. They were very patient, very cooperative every step of the way. It was a really good transaction. And it was nice to be sitting there at the table when the property owners actually made a comment that we're so happy that the town purchased this property. We never even thought much about the fact that it would be a good purchase for the town. So
And it was great that they waited as long as they did
and they
for
were,
us.
they didn't require any deposit. I mean, just a handshake deal. Really nice working
Locals.
local. Yeah. So one of the things I have done, North Point Engineering does a lot of the the road design work for the road agent. And I've asked North Point if they would, when they're in town, if they'd take a look at this and put together a proposal so that we could get some, a cost, what it would cost to do some engineering plans, to just do some quick fixes,
As in vegetation or whatever they say.
Yeah, I mean, I just,
Visibility.
the next step is, to me, it seems like simple. You cut down some trees and get an excavator and claw it back. But maybe there's more to it than that. And so I just thought it'd be good.
State right away.
It's a state right away. I thought, there's utilities probably there. I don't know.
Oh, no.
Have an engineer take a look at it.
It's hydrants.
Yeah. Keep an eye out on state grants since it is a state road that maybe they can help us.
Yeah, you've got that water line coming down there too.
Mhm.
It's right by there.
Right.
It's getting sour now. Like that water line's failed twice already. We need to fix it.
I think you're all aware, but yeah, I've been the last few weeks here. It seems like we've been working with a lot of citizen complaints and with drainage issues, still some St. Gobain issues with the grass not growing and certain landscaping work completed. So, and I think I've kept the board, well advised, but it takes time and still got some outstanding issues, but we're getting them done. Annual financial audit was completed last week. Again, we won't hear from the auditors till probably late August, September. They just come in initially, do a lot of the heavy lifting work, and then they go back to the office and they do some other stuff that they can do. Good news is Department of Labor, when they came in and did the wage and hour audit, one of the findings they had was that the library had an underage employee worked too many hours. And when we notified the library about this, the library director discovered that we actually just transposed the information incorrectly. So when the inspector was looking at the payroll records, they looked one line above, which was an adult.
Mhm.
We were able to provide that information to her, and she sent back in writing that, that's all good.
Great.
So we don't have a clear, no findings yet. I'm expecting that we'll get something on letterhead. Like I told you the last time, they still are doing those phone interviews. I haven't heard anything about it. So, but at least that one finding is now no longer an issue. One of the things I'd like to ask the board, we've done this before with certain holidays where the 4th of July this year is on a Thursday, and we'd like the town hall staff would like to use an earn day and take the Friday off. It's kind of tough. One, we don't expect there to be much activity whatsoever in the town office. Two, it's with limited staff, it's really hard to schedule time off. So we've done it before when we've had that opportunity, and with good notice to the public, it's usually not a problem at all.
Gentlemen, you all good with that?
I'm good.
Yeah, if you post it and there's plenty of notice, yeah.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to get to you now and start getting the word out there.
Let them enjoy the long weekend.
Yeah.
It's gonna rain. I'll be working.
It's gonna rain. Probably will.
Got something to look forward to.
So one of the things over the next 4 weeks, I keep telling you this, but I really need to buckle down and get my hands wrapped around this stormwater management permit. There's a long list of items that need to be done before June 30th or July 1st. So you're going to start, I got some work to do, but you're going to start seeing some of this stuff appear on your agenda. So, and then this Friday, I signed up for code enforcement training just because I thought it was an opportunity. New Hampshire Municipal Association was providing it.
I could help you.
Since I've got more code enforcement going on right now than I know what to do with, I thought it might be a good opportunity.
You can always call and they will help you.
I don't know where it's all coming from, but 8 Bixby Road, just to let you know, as of right now, we have 2 hearing dates scheduled, Tuesday, May 28th and Tuesday, June 4th. Both separate issues. One's the hazardous building and one's the junkyard. These things are all subject to change. I think they're just hearings, like pre-hearing trial type, situations. But anyhow, starting to get some traction here. And it's about that time of the year when I know one of the neighbors will start coming in and talking to the board about what we've done.
So legal counsel's representing us for that.
Yes. Yeah. Laura Spector Morgan is representing us for both. And my last item is I'd like to have the board authorize me to issue a credit card to Jerry Pylon. He's our animal control officer and building custodian. We only have $500 left to all the credit we have. Remember I told you we have $30,000 of credit. And Jerry approached me and had said it would be really great if for some of the little things that he has to get on his way from his house to here, he could pull into a hardware store or whatever and get some little things that he needs, because he'll fix things. He fixes toilets and electrical things and stuff. And but Kevin used to run around and get all this stuff for him. So
Yeah, we don't have any, the guys next door don't do that.
no.
So all I can say, it's a good idea. I recommend it.
Yeah.
Okay, because Jerry, he knows what he's doing.
So I do need the board to vote on that.
To make a
I'm not
motion.
allowed to issue.
I'll make the
credit
motion.
cards.
I gotta read it. I recommend to authorize the town administrator to issue a town credit card with a maximum credit of $500 to Jerry Pylon, the animal control officer / building custodian.
We have a motion by Mr. Lynch,
Second.
second by Mr. Leary. Any additional discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All those abstained? Motion carries 500. Next, we have our selectmen reports. Mr. Lynch.
Oh, we do? I was with the planning board last week. Everything went well. We're looking at the extension of Albuquerque as part of the discussion because the state doesn't know how to finish what they started regarding the circumferential highway. And that's some of the traffic problems that we're incurring up on Page Road and stuff like that. So the board's going to be looking into that and everything else went well.
Great. Mr. Schaefer.
Well, last rec meeting, we discussed, maybe we name the river access after John Bryant. Oh, wait a minute, we did. That's all I have for rec.
Okay, that's done.
Yeah.
For myself, I wasn't in attendance due to youth baseball for the Conservation Committee, so I have nothing to report.
Heritage Commission meets tomorrow night. I will be unable to attend. We'll be at another conference, but I will be able to report out what happens.
Okay, thank you.
Who's the chair for
Mr.
that?
Leary?
Budget committee, they're not meeting again until June 27th, but there is an NHMA training seminar there, and if anybody wanted to attend, it would be encouraged. Other than that, that's about it.
Is there anybody from the board going to that on the 22nd?
I'm gonna
27th.
try to-
27th?
Yeah, I'll obviously be there.
Anybody who could make it,
Yeah, it would
you
be
find
a
it
good idea.
worthwhile.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
a good idea.
Yeah, I'll try, I'll make sure and make sure that the staff know about department heads
Yeah.
too, because
That'd be
they may show some interest too. It's
Yeah.
good. It's a really good training.
It is. I mean, when I took it a year and a half ago, it was great. Okay, seeing we had no items removed consent, we had no other business. Our next regular meeting will be on June 10th, 2019. We do have one other thing on the docket, which is a non-meeting, and that will be after the adjournment of this meeting, the Board of Selectmen will meet with Attorney David Van Slyke of Pretty Flattery to discuss the St. Gobain PFOA groundwater contamination issue. Since we have nothing else on the docket, I'd accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Mr. Lemire,
Second.
second by Mr. Schaefer. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All those abstained? Motion carries 500. Thank you for joining and have a good evening.